Hey, we're good upstairs.
Well, Matt and Jared aren't here, so it's a new guy.
Do I need to run up there? Good evening. Thank you for attending. This is the July 13th rescheduled regular board meeting. This is a meeting of the Board of Education and Public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public comment during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Chambers, when you're ready to call roll, please.
Mr. Nichols. Here. Mr. Ross.
Here.
Mr. West.
Here.
Ms. Pritchard.
Here.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to request a motion for the approval of the minutes for the rescheduled regular meeting on June 26, 2023.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 26th.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any questions, comments, changes to the minutes? Hearing none, Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Nichols.
Aye.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard. Aye. Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any changes, additions, removals to the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. West. Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Ross.
Aye. Aye.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sable?
Just two quick comments this evening. The first is I would like to thank our board members for your flexibility this evening for moving our meetings to accommodate my schedule. Also want to make the board aware that it is likely that we will need a special board meeting probably in early August for personnel purposes. It would just be for personnel as we wrap up the hiring for the upcoming school year. I would anticipate that would likely be a morning meeting, and we would just need a majority of the board members there so that we're ready to roll for the new school year. Also on this agenda, the big item is the second resolution to place a bond issue as well as a levy on the ballot, and I'll talk about that further when we actually get to that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chambers?
As you may know, it's our, unbeknownst to a lot of people, it's our high time here in the district. We're closing out contracts, we're putting in contracts, we're closing out the fiscal year, we're starting up a new fiscal year. So at this point, we just got payroll, which is due tomorrow. We just got that done here. So we have no financial reports at this time. I do want to state that I just received an email today from our auditor, and they are looking for a post-audit sometime here, the 19th, the 24th, or the 25th, if anybody is available for this. So, daytime or evening for the 19th or 25th, and daytime for the 24th. So, if anyone wants to attend, that would be greatly appreciated.
Mr. Chambers, will that be here in this room?
Yes, it will.
Thank you. Okay.
I just had a question. Mr. Chamber, will you send an email with those dates?
I will forward you the auditor's email.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Board communication, Mr. West, would you like to start?
I don't have really much of significance. We didn't have a facilities meeting this month, and the Finance Committee, I think, meets next month is the next one. I have been watching in earnest as the pickleball courts get finished up en route. They were surfacing this week, so it's kind of exciting. And driving in tonight, I see that the band parking lots gotten started, so that's all good stuff. And I know Ryan has already brought all that up, so, but that's about it.
Just two things. Just want to remind the community, if you're thinking about running for the school board, you got 3 weeks now before the deadline to get your petitions in from the Board of Elections. So make sure you get your petitions in and you make that deadline with your petitions. So remind the community of that. And then the other thing is the Rec Center Board met this morning, and Ryan and Jansen went over the projects, the pool and the expansion, which are moving along well. And I just want to thank Ryan and Jansen for, they gave me a tour of the pool and all the work going on. And it's tedious over there, but I just want the community to know that just be a little patient, because once this project is done, the pool is going to be better than ever. And I use the pool, so I got to wait, but can't wait for it to get done. It's going to look awesome. So, and thanks for the tour, Ryan.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols?
Yeah, not really a ton to update on. As I think we've alluded to in previous board meetings and stuff, July is usually kind of the quiet time for committees and things like that. And I don't think curriculum's meeting, and like Andrew had mentioned, finance will meet next month. So nothing on that end. It's weird to come to a board meeting and walk in and there's not, I don't know, 400 kids on Ken Duke's practicing and training. I think when I walked in there were 5, and they just finished up, I don't know, practicing amongst themselves. So that it's different to see when you see it the other 11 months out of the year. So yeah, that's it for me.
I just want to congratulate Ella Nicholson on winning the weightlifting championship of the United States. She started way above where everyone else finished, so we have quite a champion. I would like to thank all the staff and administrators for all the hard work they do. I know everybody thinks July's quiet, and it is, but it's all the unseen work that's being done, and I really appreciate that. And I think Evolve, the roof, I think, is finished, because I noticed the porta pots were being shipped out today. I also want to remind any student who does not know what they want to do with their life, and their ages are between 18 and 24, you can register for free adult education classes at the Career Center. You just have to go out there and fill out the different forms. It's tedious, but if you can get $7,000 worth of free classes, it's well worth it. And I'd also like to remind everyone to go and vote. I went today to vote on our, quote, special election, and I had to wait in line. And they are busy, especially in Medina County, so don't wait. Do an absentee ballot, but get out and vote by August, election's August 8th. Thanks.
Thank you. And I don't have any updates. this evening. So we can just move ahead to public comment. And we're going to waive the reading of that since no one is signed in for that. We'll move ahead to action items. Mr. Sable?
First action item this evening is service agreements. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following service agreements. The first one is for Amplify Education. This is to continue an elementary language arts pilot program that we started this past school year. We are considering this curriculum for adoption and have been discussing this curriculum not only with our teachers and within our Department of Instruction, but also with our district curriculum committee, which Joe and Becky both serve on. Normally, we do a one-year pilot, but we feel like we want to spend more time with this curriculum in working with our teachers. We did recently, Tina and I had a discussion and felt like it was important to expand the pilot for this year. So we are looking at spending a little bit more money on the pilot going into this year to have a more expanded pilot program. Which I think has made our building principals and many of our teachers very happy because of the positive feedback that I can say I've received from our staff regarding this curriculum. Second, the Central Ohio Educational Service Center. We are looking at entering into an agreement with the Central Ohio ESC for an ESL teacher. And this is a one-year agreement, and this will allow us to have more ESL classes to serve our students here at the high school. And this is something that Mr. Shields has been able to work with our Teachers Association in order to make that happen. Also, we have a recommendation for district property and general liability insurance. I do want to point out to the board that this is an increase over the past service or contract that we had, which is pretty typical to see insurance policies increasing. This policy is with a different company than we had in the past. That's because we went out and got several different quotes, and this is the lower increase of the increases of the quotes that we received. Second up, it is recommended that the Board of Education review for the second time with possible adoption the following new and revised policies and forms and rescinded policies and forms to delete. And again, these were presented for first reading at the last board meeting. Number 3, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the first reading of the following revised policies, deleted forms, and revised forms. This list of policies is for a first reading, not for adoption. And these have gone through our district policy committee. We've also spent quite a bit of time with legal counsel coming in and providing professional development and working with our administrative team on these policy updates so we're prepared for the coming school year. Number 4, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the transportation resolution which deems students from non-public schools and students living outside the non-public school attendance area as ineligible for transportation for the 23-24 school year. This is presented to the Board of Education on an annual basis. And number 5 is a stipend payment. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve a stipend payment of $375 for Beth Nickley for serving as a cooperating teacher during the spring 23 semester for a student attending Kent State. And last up this evening is personnel. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following personnel recommendations pending completion and submission of all required paperwork per requested by Mr. Shields, our Director of Human Resources. I do want to point out on here that we do have an administrative resignation Terry Horton has served as associate principal at Root Middle School for, I want to say, at least the last 2 years. Prior to that, she served the district as a special education teacher. She has done an outstanding job supporting Cindy Grice over there as the new principal, and before then working with Brian Farson as an associate principal. I think she was really going to move forward to be a head principal someday. She had shared with me recently this past year that her passion for special education, where she taught, was really becoming an itch, and she had the opportunity to move into a director of pupil services position at Norton City Schools. So she gets to do two of her passions now, and that's administration and special education. So I have no doubt Terry's going to do an outstanding job, and our loss is their gain. We are in the process of interviewing to fill her shoes, and are conducting interviews externally as well as internally, and we'll have somebody to recommend to our board in the not too distant future. In addition to that, we have several other recommendations, especially classroom recommendations, to replace teachers that have retired or have moved on for various reasons. And I want to thank our administrators as well as our teachers for their diligence and hard work through the hiring process. I want to thank Jean for her recognition, because summer really is a very busy time, and what people don't realize is, especially during July, we often have individuals, whether they're building administrators or teachers, coming in and volunteering to serve on committees, hiring committees, and interview committees, because there's that kind of dedication in our district to make sure we're finding the best people to come and serve our students in the classrooms. And I'm fortunate to get to meet these individuals kind of at the end of the process, and we really have high quality people coming through our doors. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent action items.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Pritchard. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any questions or comments from the board? Well, we do appreciate it. There's a lot of hard work that does go into getting all of this ready, and especially with the personnel items and the service agreements, getting ready for the start of the school year, which will be here before we know it. So we do appreciate everyone's efforts and hard work. If there's no questions or comments, Mr. Chambers, when you're ready to call roll, please.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Ross? Aye. Mr. West?
Yes.
And Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last action item on the board agenda is a resolution to proceed with an issue of bonds and levy. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution to proceed with an issue of bonds and levy of an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation, and certifying the same to the Board of Elections. And I'm going to ask Mr. Komar, if it's possible, if you could pull up the actual resolution. I'm not going to read the resolution this evening, but I would like to share that the actual ballot language is contained within this resolution, which is now displayed, and I think it's important that people begin familiarizing themselves with that language. For another explanation, I do want to make clear, and I feel like I mention this every meeting, but I think it's important that there's clarification that these voting items, the levy and bonds, are completely separate items from the redistricting, that the board has already approved the redistricting, which is going to be occurring during the 24-25 school year. The levy issue is for operating purposes. We have not asked for new monies since 2013, so it's been 10 years. New operating money that we're asking for now serves our promise to the community that we would not ask for new money until we need it. The new money that we are asking for is not to add additional services for operations. It's to maintain the services that we currently have in place. We've been fortunate to be able to expand our services for students over the last 10 years, including things like free all-day kindergarten, middle school teaming, expanded electives at both the middle schools and the high school, decreasing class sizes at our lower grade levels, and also having more of a focus on career and college readiness, which includes the college and career courses that we're offering at both the middle school and the high school. And this is just to name a few. I'm sure if I got Mrs. Cassidy up here, she'd rattle off 10 more things that we've been doing the last several years. So that's what these operating levies do, is they pay for those things that we've added these past years. The bond issue is for building and facilities. That is the yellow plan. So that is building a new Claggett, a 7-8 building. It is adding a athletic field, which would replace Memorial, because the new Claggett would go where Memorial currently is. It would replace the visitor stands at Ken Duke Stadium, which were originally built in the 70s and are original to the stadium and are reaching their age limit. Which we would also expand the capacity of the stadium and make that the home side, which it once was. It would be adding turf to Root. We'd be losing practice fields with the building of Claggett across the street, so that would ensure that we have adequate practice space for all of our athletic teams, as well as expansion of Root. In order to accommodate all of the 5th and 6th graders, as well as increasing safety at Root with the entrance area over there. Also, a small amount of the funds would be used to do some minor upgrades over at Garfield to transition Garfield to the board office, and we've discussed utilizing Garfield as well as a district meeting and community space in addition to that. We are recommending in this resolution that the bond issue and the levy be tied together, and there's two main reasons for this. And the reason why is because we really need them to both pass for success. The concern, if we put them on the ballot as separate items, is that the bond would pass and the operating levy would not. And that's a very valid concern that we've seen in other communities. And the reason why we have that concern is because the bond issue is a much smaller dollar amount. So theoretically, it would be much easier to pass. And Mr. Chambers is going to talk in a little bit about those actual amounts. The other piece, and it's just a reality, but it's nice to have new things, and it's a lot easier to sell things that are tangible, like new buildings, than it is things like operating levies. The operating levy is a larger amount, so that could be more challenging to pass. The situation we don't want to be in is where we would have new facilities, and then we wouldn't have the operating funds in order to support those facilities and the academics that need to happen within those facilities. So those are the reasons why we've tied them together in this recommendation. And I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Chambers at this time to talk about the costs of the bond and the levy to the community if the board were to approve this resolution this evening and they were to pass.
Pull up the Okay. We've been working with our underwriters and our bond counsel. As we spoke, I believe it was about 2 months ago, we're trying to get the new monies to coincide with the old monies that we're paying right now. Currently, we have a 2.2 mil bond. And what we're looking at is adjusting the new bond, the additional bond, so that we're paying out a total of 2.83 mils for the average bond life. And so before, in the first 2 years, first 5 years, we're going to be paying out 2.2 mils to the old bond, current bond, and then adding the 0.63. And that's what we're asking the taxpayers, is the 0.63 is the addition for the bonds itself. After the 5 years, the old bond is paid off. So we're looking at all the monies going to the additional bond itself. So no change to the taxpayer, it's just where the monies are going. So the monies would be going to the additional bond itself, so 2.83 mils. On the second page, you'd see the costs. And so we're looking, on the second page, you'll see the costs. So we're looking at the cost for the current bond of $77. This is what you're paying on a $100,000 home right now, $77 for the year. With the additional bond, we'd be looking at an additional $22 a year. So overall, with the additional bond, we'd be looking at the $99 per year itself. This would cost you $8.25 if we were to include both the current bond and the additional bond. On the third page, you would see after the first 5 years, because we paid off the current bond, all monies, all $99 would be going to the additional bond. Again, it would cost a total of $8.25 just for the additional bond. And then finally, we're looking at the levy, the operating levy. You gotta remember it's a continuous levy for 6.5 mils, and that it will collect approximately $12 million. Now the district, again, I just want to remind you as board members and community members itself, we have not asked for additional money since 2013's emergency levy. We did have a substitute levy in 2018, but that was for no new monies at all. So the cost of to a $100,000 taxpayer for the 6.5 mils is $228. And this averages around $19 a month for the new levy itself. And if you're thinking $19 a month, I heard today it's less than a subscription to Netflix. Is that right? I have no idea what that is, a monthly subscription. I don't use Netflix, I'm sorry. I'm old, I guess. So, but that's the cost itself for the operating levy. And then you add the cost to the bond, and we get the final page here, which, let's see if I can move this. Final page for total costs overall, $250 for a $100,000 home, averages out to $4.80 a week, which $4.80, I don't know what they charge at Starbucks, but I believe it's around that for a single drink. So, any questions?
Will your slideshow be put in the minutes where the public could see that, or?
They will. We're also going to make it available on our website. We're actually in the process of putting together a web page specifically for the bond and levy. which the community will be able to access.
Thank you.
Before we ask any more questions, can I get a motion to approve this action item, please? That's okay.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just had one comment. I just wanted to say thanks for putting together this slideshow. This actually really breaks it down a lot for board members, community members, I mean, maybe even people that work at the school, because I feel like in the past when you hear millage, you're like, okay, I don't know what that means. It's an arbitrary number. This breaks it into something a little bit more tangible, a little bit easier to understand for people, and I just appreciate that, because I don't feel like a lot of school districts take that extra step to really break it down in this manner.
And I also just wanted to mention that we do have a communication that is going to be going out. I know the one from me is going to be going out at 8:30 following the board meeting, that outlines the information that we shared this evening as well.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful, the slideshow. I'm glad to hear that'll be available for the public as well. If there are no other questions or comments, Mr. Chambers, when you're ready to call roll, please.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that brings us to the end of our meeting. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. Pritchard.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. West. Mr. Chambers, please.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the lovely weather outside. Thank you.